Check 1, 2. Good morning, everybody. Please have a seat. We are ready to get this party started. Are y'all ready? I might be a little hyped up. I listened to Les Brown on the way in, so I'm hyped up. You could do anything. You get off those, boy. And our panel today is, evidence of that. We are, what do they say? If you can see it, you can believe it. Well, we have a panel that has done amazing things, and they're doing amazing things, and it's just confirmation that we too can do amazing things. It's never too late. Don't stop dreaming, don't stop believing. I was just talking to Zach about how most of the motivational messages sound so cliche, but they're so true, right? Oh, nobody said nothing. Wait a minute, what happened? I was fired up. I thought I was like, yes, Mark. Y'all was like, eh. Well, I'll say that because I'm Mark Clark. For those who don't know, I'm Mark Clark. Make some noise if you know me from the Big Fat Morning Show 92Q back in the day. All right. Make some noise if you don't know who in the heck this guy is. Make some noise. Thank you. So, here's the beauty. This is what I'm saying. This is how amazing life is. So, for years, I've been in radio for 30 years, right? And so, a couple years ago, I lost a radio gig. I was up for this traffic gig in Baltimore. I called Zach, who I'm going to bring up. I said, what do you think? He said, hey, Mark, get your name out there, blah, 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 blah. And so I didn't get the traffic gig, but why did I get a television gig? Okay, why did I get, not a television appearance, why did I end up being on Channel 9, a CBS affiliate, hosting Great Day Washington? As the young lady was having a baby, I became a TV guy. Y'all can clap for that, thank you. The same station that my wife works at in DC, and so that came to an end. But why am I up for 2 news anchor gigs in different cities? Won't he do it? I went from the basement of my house talking to Zach to being on TV every day. It's just a reminder that it's all there. You put in the work. You got the skills. All you have to do is keep on dreaming, keep on grinding, and it can happen. And that's what this summit is about. And in fact, just to make sure in the right building, the right place, the investment, Young Black and Invested, that's going on in the Cobalt Room. Just want to make sure everybody's in the right place. So the Young Black and Invested is in the Cobalt Room. If you're in the wrong room, you can creep out. We're not going to judge you. You can just creep out and just, like in church, just get your bag and just go on, sneak out. But right now, I'm going to bring up again, oh, okay, is it time to do this? Okay, all right then. This is a little, doing an audible on the play. I need you guys to make some noise for our fine, fine mayor. Brandon Scott is in the building. Yes, Baltimore's finest. My man.
Good morning, everyone. If y'all didn't know, Mark was doing his Steve Harvey, that's his Steve Harvey, talking about that this morning. And he had the Steve Harvey suit, so give a shout out to Mark.
Wait a minute. Am I getting cracked on by the mayor? Wow.
Mark, they didn't know who you were because they were looking for the breakfast place to be with you. That's how you know.
Who, yeah.
But good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Let me first start off by thanking all of our sponsors for this wonderful event and for everyone who's been coming out and showing out as we celebrate a new way for the CIAA here in Baltimore. Have y'all had a good time this week? All right. We know what the CIAA means, and we know, as I've been saying all week, that the CIAA and Baltimore go together like Obey and Crabs. That means there is no better match for the CIAA outside of Baltimore City. And we are here today because we also know that this tournament is much more than basketball, as we've experienced all week, from Career Expo, showcasing these young people, opportunities that they have here and across the country. Obviously, great basketball, the step show that I'm pretty sure a lot of you were at last night, all the celebrations that have happened, but also about empowerment. And we know right now at this moment There is no bigger and more important conversation in the black community than about financial empowerment, making sure that we close that wealth gap, making sure that we build generational wealth, making sure that we take care of the money that we do have and make it work for you. As I always say, my money works for me, I don't work for it. That's what we have to do, and this is what we're talking about here today. I want to thank you all for continuing to support the CIAA. We look forward to seeing you guys tonight at the game, and then after that party, and then the next party, and another party after that. And enjoy yourselves until you go home if you're not from Baltimore, and continue to enjoy yourselves if you still remain here. But this is about how we can showcase the best of black excellence, not just through this week-long tournament, but throughout the year. And we're going to have this be even bigger and better and brighter and bolder next year, because we know that there is no way that any city outside of Baltimore can do the CIAA the way that we do. I know that my brother, the City Council President, Nick Mosby, is about to join us. I want to thank him also and the council for all their support for the CIAA. I know Al's in here from Visit Baltimore. Al, who's been leading the ship. Senator Hayes, Kappa out here early in the morning. You know, Kappas don't do early mornings after late nights. Somebody had to hit him up with the makeup in the background. They got to be pretty. But thank you all for being here and enjoying yourselves, and have a great time.
Give it up for our mayor. Awesome. You know, this is all about history. CIAA back in Baltimore. I want to shout out my man back there, Harold Bell in the corner, ladies and gentlemen. Harold Bell is 83 years old. He actually played for Big House Gaines. Give him some love. He played for the coach. And Harold Bell is a living legend, and you know, the beauty of our elders is they have the real stories. He was telling me that I didn't know Big House played at Morgan State. Who knew? Another connection to Baltimore. I didn't know that. And so again, that's what this weekend is all about. And again, we appreciate everybody for being here. So up next, as the mayor said, we're going to bring up to the stage a man. He's a husband, a father, a mentor. He's a young lion, president of Baltimore City Council, one half of a super couple, and creating great positive change in this city. Nick Mosby in the building, y'all. Give it up. I said, the president, I said, man, you walk like a running back, man. He said, no, Mark, defensive back, brother. Okay.
Mark, you didn't read any of the notes, man. You just did your own thing.
I didn't realize, I forgot, Sanjay, it be having world class up here. I didn't know.
This is nice.
I normally just have to, ad lib. I had my notes written down last night at the kitchen table. I was working it all out. I didn't know I had a thing. And so let me bring up this man. This is my man. Everybody needs a Zach. That person you call when you're trying to make a big decision in your life. If he don't know, he knows somebody who knows. Zach McDaniels, he is an entrepreneur, owner of Graham Avenue Strategies. Zach McDaniels, come on up, Zach.
Now, I'm not part of the panel. I'm just here to speak.
Oh, okay.
We ad-libbing. All right.
Oh, you just here to speak?
I'm just here to speak.
I thought you were, okay. Well.
Isn't that right, Zach?
Yeah, I'm not on the panel either.
That's above your pay grade.
I'm just here to welcome you.
That's right. You guys are just doing the welcome.
Yeah, just doing the welcome.
We co-welcome it.
You go ahead.
Co-welcome.
Well, welcome everybody to Baltimore. Who's not from Baltimore out there? Who is from Baltimore? Here we go. Well, like the mayor said eloquently, welcome to Black Excellence. When we talk about the importance of what this tournament means and what these institutions mean to our communities, that's what the historically black college and university experience is all about. And when you couple that and you overlay that in a place like Baltimore that is rich in African American history, there is nothing other than what we see and what we can call black excellence, particularly when we're having amazing events like this, Zach. When we're talking about ensuring that our money is working for us, we're talking about ensuring that we're doubling down on something that is so important, like creating generational wealth. That is what today is about. Linking African-American entrepreneurs, investors, business leaders, political leaders to ensure that we're moving in the right direction. I was going to say this, the mayor has already gone, but we can talk about social policy all day long. And it's important to have elected officials that understand and are culturally connected to our experiences and the issues in our communities. But we also know that in order for us to have a true paradigm change, it has to be about economics. It has to be about economic empowerment. And that's what this summit is about. That's why each and every one of you are here to participate and learn and grow for one another. And that's why it's also, Zach and Al, so critical that we continue to have the CIAA tournament right here in this great city called Charm City. So from folks who are not from Baltimore, welcome to Baltimore. It looks a lot different than what Hollywood would show you. It looks a lot different than what you'll get from your average news clip about Baltimore, because Baltimore is such an amazing city. But more importantly, Baltimore is such an amazing city for African American opportunity, not just through real estate, not just through business, but each and every aspect of it. So while you're here for a day or two, the next couple of days, we look for you to come back and visit. Understand and know that this is the place for you. And for everybody in Baltimore, the folks who live here, let's understand and know what we have on our hands. The number one commodity of the city is real estate. And it's there. You're able to invest. You're able to get it. And Baltimore City will continue to grow, whether you're participating in it or not. So we're here today to say we have to have a seat at the table. We have to be that variable. For us to change the conditions of our community, it has to be through economics. So again, thank you to each and every one for coming out. Continue to enjoy CIAA. Continue to spend your money. And we look forward to seeing you again next year. Shout out to you, Zach.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just want to thank our sponsors this morning. We would not be able to do this week without the support of our corporate community. So to the Harbor Bank of Maryland, thank you. PNC, thank you. Truist, thank you. And definitely to all of our main corporate sponsors, Whiting Turner, Verizon, Bank of America, the state of Maryland, and the city of Baltimore. This week has been tremendous for the city in terms of our economic impact. A lot of our small businesses have been struggling throughout the year because of the impact of COVID and so forth. So this has been great. The message I want you guys to take from this event and from this room is, if you have an idea, keep pushing it. I don't care how many times people tell you no. You're going to hear that from a lot of the panelists today. A lot of these people I know and have worked with personally, and they'll tell you, you got to keep pushing. There's money out there. Don't let money be an obstacle. Absorb all of this information and use it to make this city and wherever you're from a lot better. So welcome, and I hope you get a lot out of today's events. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Nick. Great job. It's so interesting. I remember years ago, like Council President was saying, the image of Baltimore, if you're not from here, is totally different than what Baltimore has to offer so many things. And I never forget, I don't know if Sanjay remembers this, we were celebrating being #1, the Big Fat Morning Show, and actually a restaurant, 5-star restaurant just around the corner, 5-star restaurant, people pulling up in fancy cars, looking out into the people getting off boats. And you're just like, man, this is not the image that most people have of Baltimore. Baltimore is not just the wire. Baltimore is so much better than that, right? And so again, so excited that the CIAA gets a chance to see us. And so here we go, getting ready to start our panel. Monique Jones is the managing editor of ESPN's The Undefeated. She is a seasoned veteran in this game, has taken her talents to esteemed outlets, including the Boston Globe, USA Today, and the Baltimore Sun, just to name a few. Please welcome Monique Jones. Monique Jones. She's going to be conducting our panel. How are you? Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. We're excited about this conversation. We've had a lot of great conversations around what it means to have financial independence and generational wealth. And I think you all are going to really be thrilled about the conversation we're going to have here today. Again, I'm Monique Jones. I'm with The Undefeated. We are a site that's dedicated to the intersection of sports, race, and culture. And we also have a very strong HBCU tie. So thank you for having me today. The Undefeated, we're looking forward to having this conversation around ownership and generational wealth, brought to you by Bank of America. Over the next hour, this panel will explore ways to build and maintain generational wealth by planning, saving, and investing, as well as securing life insurance plans that will benefit our families in our death, all while making sure good old Uncle Sam gets his cut. To walk us through this discussion, we have some financial industry experts here to share their wisdom and get you off to a great start that your future pockets won't regret. So let me introduce you to our dynamic panel. First, we have Stacy Bain Crittenden, First Vice President of Wealth Management and Senior Financial Advisor at Merrill Lynch. Stacy focuses on retirement, estate needs, and investment planning for individuals and businesses. She's an HBCU graduate who attended Spelman College before obtaining the Juris Doctorate from Georgetown University Law School. Stacy is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and currently serves as co-president of the Merrill Lynch Women's Exchange in Greater Maryland. Next, we have Drew Hawkins, founder and CEO of EduCore, Sports and Entertainment. It educates, equips, and empowers athletes and entertainers to make more informed business, financial, and lifestyle decisions through financial literacy. Drew is a 28-year veteran in the financial services arena who has held a succession of senior management roles at what is known today as Morgan Stanley. In 2008, he became the first African American in the firm's history to be promoted to managing director within the wealth management division, and later founded and led Morgan Stanley's global sports and entertainment division. Through EduCore, which he founded in 2017, he is now utilizing his previous experience to educate athletes and entertainers on their financial, business, and lifestyle affairs. Drew also serves as the board chair of the Regional F. Lewis Museum of Maryland African American History and Culture right here in Baltimore City. As a veteran in the financial industry, we are so very grateful to have him complement today's panel with his expertise. Please welcome Drew. Finally, we have Malcolm Juice, who is a client service associate with Truist, where he works directly with financial advisors within Truist's private client group of investment services and wealth. During his tenure at Truist, Malcolm has a product controller for Morgan Stanley's finance division after graduating from Loyola University of Maryland, where he obtained his Bachelor's of Business Administration degree with a core focus in finance. In 2017, he co-founded Improving Gifted Intellects, a nonprofit organization committed to developing, mentoring, and educating Baltimore City youth. Malcolm, please join us. Please welcome Malcolm. All right, Malcolm, we often hear about financial freedom and financial independence. What does that mean, and can we even get it?
Sure. Definitely. I definitely think financial freedom is achievable. I would say financial freedom to me is kind of having a nest egg of money set aside, maybe 2 to 3 times your annual income, having that set aside in some sort of investment account. But that's what financial freedom means to me. I would kind of challenge all of you guys to ask yourselves, what does financial freedom mean to you?
When we think about according to the Federal Reserve, a survey of consumer finances found that white families had a median wealth of $171,000, while black families' median wealth was $17,600, and Latino families was at $20,700. Drew, when we talk about median wealth, what does that mean, and why does it matter?
Sure. Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all here, and I've got to give a strong shout out to the CIAA for having the foresight of really having this conference and making this weekend be more than just a great basketball weekend and to be able to talk about this topic. You know, when we think about this topic of the racial wealth gap, right, you know, there are a variety of things that come to mind. Like I think of my situation in growing up, and I had 2 educated parents that were successful. But they never had any idea of what a financial advisor was until I became a financial advisor. And so the only thing that they thought about was the credit union and, you know, those savings bonds and putting money into the bank and not really thinking about it from that particular aspect. And so as we think about how this gap has gotten so wide, and hopefully we're going to begin to narrow the gap, It really comes down to having exposure, having an opportunity to be educated about this topic, and really starting to get entrenched in the things that we have the capability of doing now, whether it's real estate, whether it's having an opportunity to invest in the financial markets, and really beginning to get comfortable thinking outside of the box when we think about our money and how we have an opportunity, to be able to allow that to grow. I'm with two great panelists today that are in the industry and, provide those financial services to assist people there. But as we think about what that gap looked like, we're going to begin to close that margin over a period of time. But it's all about making sure that, we are educated about it and understand it and are comfortable putting our toe in the water and getting it done. It's critical now to get our children and our grandchildren educated about this topic. And it's never too late to start. When you think about kids now getting an allowance and you think about being able to explain to them that, hey, it's not just about, wearing those $150 tennis shoes you've got on your feet from Nike, but how do you now have an opportunity to think about how you can benefit from some of these things that are out there?
Drew, I want to just ask one additional question to that. So when we see 171,000 median wealth, are we talking about these are at someone's home? Are these assets? What are we talking about when we hear the term wealth?
It's a variety of things. For most people, the biggest asset that most people are going to have is their home and their real estate. But when we think about and look at this number, it goes to the retirement account, the 401k account, the money that's in their investment portfolio, it's their real estate portfolio. So it's a combination of things that come into play when we look at that number. And as you see, 171,000 for the typical white individual versus 17,000 for the African American. We can argue that, yep, they had 400 years of head start to get going in this game, but also we now are at a point where we're making amazing money and we're having opportunities now to get exposure to deals and real estate and other situations that are out there.
Thank you. According to Charles Schwab, 78% of people with a financial plan pay their bills on time and save each month, as opposed to 38% of people who don't have a plan. Malcolm, how important is it for a financial plan, and where do you start?
Yeah, I think having a financial plan is extremely important. Just like with anything in life, you need to have some sort of plan to be successful. Growing up, my mother would always tell me, those without a plan to fail. So I definitely think that principle is applicable here. So in terms of where to start with your financial plan, try to break it down into 4 or 5 simple steps. Step 1 would be to identify what your financial objective is. You need to figure out what you're trying to accomplish with these finances. Are you trying to save for your kids' college tuition? Are you trying to purchase a home? Are you trying to retire? So first, identify what your financial plan is or what your financial objective is. Second, I would say identify what the financial constraints, what your financial constraints would be. Like, do you have extensive credit card debt? Do you have a really high mortgage payment? Do you have really high student loan debt? So second, identify what your financial constraints might be. Third, I think you need to incorporate some sort of monthly budgeting system to kind of track your monthly income that you've earned and the monthly expenses that you've incurred over the course of a month. I know personally I have an Excel spreadsheet that I use every month where I kind of input all the money that I've earned, all of my expenses, and I look at the bottom line number at the end of each month to kind of determine like my net profit for the month. So definitely incorporate some sort of budgeting system within your plan. And lastly, I would say like for the 4th step is solely focused on investing. So you need to have some sort of investment account based off of what your financial objective is. So if your financial objective is to retire, you're going to want to open up a Roth or a traditional IRA account. If your financial objective is to save for your kids' college tuition, you're going to want to open up a 529 account or an UTMA or an UGMA account. If your financial objective is to make a down payment on a home, you might just want to open up your standard individual brokerage account. So you need to figure out what type of account that you need to open. And after you open that account and you have dollars into that account, you need to have some sort of investment strategy and how you're going to allocate the money within that account. So I always recommend that novice investors kind of invest in index funds and ETFs, which is a low-cost method or a low-cost way to invest in the broader market. You can look up index funds and ETFs on Vanguard, Charles Schwab, but I always recommend that. And then finally, I think this is like the biggest hack in terms of investing. You need to automate your contributions to your investment account. So I know a lot of employers have direct deposit programs where you link your savings or your checkings account. So every time you get paid, the money gets deposited into that savings or checkings account. But you can also link your investment account to your employer's direct deposit program. And so you can have it set up as to where you, like 20% of each paycheck gets allocated to that investment account. I know personally, I have my investment accounts linked to my Truist direct deposit program. So 20% of my biweekly paycheck gets allocated to my investment account. 5% gets allocated to my 401k account. So automating those contributions just makes like the process a lot easier, and it kind of removes like the manual task of like putting dollars into the investment account.
And Moni, can I just add one thing? A lot of times people think that a financial plan, well, you've got to have all these dollars and no debt, and you've got to be 35, 40 years old to get this in place. You know, and Stacy can attest to this. You got to start where you are, okay? You might have a load of debt, but you've got to start thinking about that now and thinking about how you're going to whittle that down and start to do these things immediately so that you have an opportunity to get to that particular point.
And I'm just going to add on to that. Thanks, Drew. One of my clients owns trash companies, and a lot of the employees are, just out of high school, 17, 18 years old. And I remember the first time I went and did a 401k meeting with them, they said, Miss Stacy, that was Stacy Bain back then. Stacy Bain, I can't do that. I can't put any money. I need every dime. And I said, just take a small percentage and let it grow and put it into large cap growth funds. And they struggled, and many of them said they weren't going to participate. I remember going back 10 years later and doing an enrollment, and one of the employees said, do you mind if I speak to the staff? She told me that I had to put a little bit away. I now have 6 figures in my account. And I could never have imagined that I would have 6 figures in an account of mine. And it just shows that you start where you are. If you're 18, 19, 20, just put what you can away and put it away each month, like Malcolm suggested. I think that's always a great idea.
That sounds great in theory, but I think a lot of, think about myself. I felt like I was making $22,000 a year. Some of it was responsible spending, some of it wasn't. And when I think about when you say just put anything away, are we talking about something as little as $10 or $5? Like, what are we talking about?
And we are. Mm-hmm. Maybe at 18 and 19, you put $5 a week away. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's $10 a week. But when you get a raise, you always want to give yourself a raise in your retirement accounts and your investment accounts. And exactly what was stated before by Malcolm, you need a plan. You want to put a financial plan in place, and then we can determine what you can save and for what.
Speaking of plans, a lot of us are familiar with life insurance, right? So when we think about, is life insurance, people will say life insurance, not having adequate life insurance is having no financial plan at all. How does life insurance fit into financial planning? When is a good time to acquire it? Should we even be acquiring it?
That is such a great question, especially with this audience. African Americans tend, and for generations have done that, always to have life insurance. But unfortunately, it was always the only asset that they had. And if you think about the importance of life insurance, it is there to take care of those people who are left behind. So if you pass away and you earn a certain income, you want to make sure your spouse and your children are taken care of. But what does that do for you? Nothing, right? If you got this whole bundle of money and everything's in life insurance and you retire and you don't have a portfolio to live off of, you are in deep trouble. So what I would say to you, Monique, is life insurance is a portion of your financial plan, but not your entire financial plan, which we have seen among African Americans and among athletes. I manage money of professional athletes. Not as many as Drew did back in the day, because I only have managed money of basketball players. But one of the things that I used to always see is their financial advisor would have their entire account invested in an annuity, which is also a life insurance product. When you invest, you want to diversify. I think Malcolm did a very good job of laying it out. You want to have an account that has stocks and bonds in it. You want to have an account that's there for your emergency needs or short-term needs. And you want to have life insurance, but you also want to think about, especially for all of you in the room who are in what we call the sandwich generation, right? Where you're trying to take care of your kids, but now you're taking care of your parents too. So you want to think about, maybe I have long-term care insurance so that some of those expenses are going to be reduced by that insurance. But please do not be that individual that puts 100% of their savings into a life insurance plan. I think we were all talking about this, that you were sold these plans, you were told you could live off these in retirement, and here we are 10, maybe 15 years out, and you realize it's not enough money. So you want to make sure you are very diversified and invest both in stocks and bonds, mutual funds, and have some life insurance, but do not make it your priority. And I didn't get to say thank you so much for hosting this CIAA. I'm just happy that my firm, Bank of America, could be the premier sponsor, but this is so important, seeing you in this room talking about money now and today, and then later talking about, enjoying a basketball game. This is huge, and I hope you can continue to do this every year.
Research shows that Black Americans lag behind white Americans when it comes to knowledge of saving and investing. During the 2018-2019 school year, 1 in 6 U.S. high school students was required to take at least one semester for personal finance before graduation. However, less than 4% of students from low-income schools were required to take a personal finance semester to graduate. Drew, how do we ensure that the next generation is financially literate, and what services do you offer to educate, equip, and empower your clients to plan for the long term?
So it's interesting, when you think about the statistics that you just talked about, and I'm going to date myself. When some of us think about when we were in middle school, okay, like you had to take home economics and you had to take shop. So I could learn how to file a piece of wood, and I could make a really damn good grilled cheese sandwich, okay? But there was nothing that I had to take to go and talk to me about my money and my finances. And when you think about this, like our system in this country is so flawed because we tell our kids to do what? Stay in school, to get a better education, to go to college so you can get a really good job and make a lot of money. But our system does not provide the basics that are needed to have any level of understanding regarding what to do there. You can go to Harvard Business School and graduate and come out and not have a clue as to how credit works and how to balance a checkbook. And that's no disrespect to Harvard or those that go there, but it's just the way that our system is set up right now. And so there's so many things that, we as individuals and parents have an opportunity to do as it relates to being able to get our children into some fun things where they can quickly understand how to get their arms around this topic. Because money's a complicated thing, right? And it's also intimidating to talk about if you're not familiar with it. And so, our company works specifically in the arena with professional athletes and entertainers because they're different. They come a lot of times from backgrounds where they haven't had this exposure, and unlike a lot of the people in this room, their career spans are very short. Professional football player, the NFL stands for not for long because the average career of a pro football player is 2.6 years. And so, our focus is really on being able to get to them quickly in a non-intimidating way and letting them know, a lot of the basics of what they need to get their arms around, because they are the CEOs of million-dollar businesses. They might go out on the court during the week or on the field on Sunday, but at the end of the day, they're running a business in a lot of cases that generates anywhere from $4 to $40 million a year. And so we equip and educate them so that when they sit down and talk with Malcolm and Stacy, they've got an idea of what's going on, what the conversation is, and having the ability to deal with their business and financial affairs in a way that they're not going to get taken advantage of by, unscrupulous folks that could be in the industry, family members, what have you. Because as big as those checks are, that money comes in and goes out very quickly.
Drew, I think sometimes the conversation for a lot of people, it's intimidating. You mentioned earlier, how do I know that what someone's telling me is the truth? How do I know what their goals are behind it? You think of, the Bernie, am I working with someone who was trained in the school of Bernie Madoff? Like, are they someone whose old goal is to take my money? So when you think about the education aspect of it, how do we educate ourselves in a way that we are working with people who we feel like we trust with our money?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's interesting, again, and with anything in life, right? There's so many ways that we can get taken advantage of. And so it's important understanding, what it is that you're owning and having in your account, and making sure that, folks are making it plain when they talk about what they're putting in there. We use this little video vignette from Sanford & Son, and big Sanford & Son fan, and you all can remember back to when you had Smitty and Hoppy, and the one cop would say, "Fred, there's a perpetrator out front, and we think that he did this." And Fred looks at Smitty and is like, "What did he just say?" "Fred, there's a guy out front that's trying to steal your truck." But a lot of times we'll sit there in these conversations with financial people and not speak up, saying, "Hold up, Stacy, back up, break it down, and make sure that I understand what it is that you're saying." And so, one key thing is understanding what you own and what it is and what it's supposed to do for you as far as your portfolio is concerned. Because the one thing about insurance policies, the big beneficiary for those in annuities are the financial advisors. They get paid really well when they sell those. And there's nothing wrong with them as long as they're appropriate for what needs to be in your account. And the other key thing, as silly as this sounds, understand how to read your correspondence and read your statement, okay? It's in black and white, and it's gonna come to you every single month. But a lot of times we just don't, we're not comfortable saying, "Hey, tell me exactly what this says and what this means." And so we go through in situations thinking we have something that's not performing or having an opportunity for the level of impact that it should have.
And just to follow up on that, I always require that a married couple, that both parties come to the table. Because I do believe, and I've been doing this for 23 years, I have seen so many people that have been taken advantage of because they just didn't have the knowledge. And they said that, my husband does it all, or my wife does this all, and I don't really understand, and I don't care. Make sure you are there for those meetings and you understand, as Drew said, what am I investing in? Educate me. I spend a great deal of time speaking and educating individuals because people sometimes get this fear around money. It's just, especially Black folks, we are scared to talk about money because our parents didn't talk to us about money, right? What do? We plan vacations, we plan parties, we plan, really, really big funerals, but we don't plan for living, right? How are we gonna survive? How are we gonna live? How are we gonna be able to maintain this lifestyle we've grown accustomed to? So you have to ask people for help and say, educate me, because you know what? Maybe you don't understand what the S&P 500 is. Maybe you don't understand what a stock is. It should be a requirement that in every school that this is taught, but it's not. We don't even teach home economics anymore. So we have to, as a group, as a people, ask questions so we can understand and not get taken advantage of, because there are people in my business that have done bad things. There are people in every business, and you want to make sure you have a competent person that you're working with.
And Monique, one more quick thing. Just write these 4 letters down. FINRA, F-I-N-R-A. 5 letters, sorry. My math is a little off this morning. So with every person in the financial services space, they go through and they either have a Series 6 license or a Series 7 license. You can Google that person's information and go to FINRA, and that's going to give you their record. And their record is, just like your credit report. So if they've had lawsuits that have been filed against them by clients, by other things, it's going to show what's pending. It's going to show if anything has been paid out there. That's like rule number 1, irrespective of who's recommended or referred that person to you, go do your homework and check them out and just make sure that, again, they've got a clean record before you get engaged with them.
That's incredibly helpful. When you talk about diversifying and making sure should we also be diversify, like, should we have more than one financial planner? Like, should different people be using should I have so much money with this person, so much money with that
Sure, I'll take
person? Is that something that we should be considering as well?
Personally, no, I don't think so. I think you should try to primarily focus with one financial planner and just have that planner develop a holistic plan for you that incorporates investing and incorporates life insurance and incorporates annuities. So I'd recommend that you just focus on working with one financial planner as opposed to having, 2 or 3.
And I would agree with Malcolm. I often, when I'm taking on a new client, they've had a relationship with someone else, right? And they've been referred to me, and I always say to them, I'm going to put together a plan for you, and I want you to Google me and understand what our team does and what we've been doing. But at the same time, I want you to know that my expectation is that if I put this plan together, that you are going to consolidate your assets with me, because I want to make sure that one planner is not doing the same exact thing that I am, and that you end up having a portfolio that's overweighted in emerging markets, but you don't have any large cap exposure, or you don't have any fixed income. By having one planner, they're able to make sure that your portfolio is diversified. And from a tax standpoint, if some tax harvesting is done, you don't want to get in a situation where one person was buying something and one person was selling it. So I am, going to say that you should at some point have one planner that you consolidate all your assets with.
Yeah. And sorry.
Moni, to that, both of those points real quick. Sorry, Malcolm. Think about if you've got to go in the hospital and you've got to have a surgery, okay? We've got so many different things that the doctors are going to check out before we go into that operating room. And you might have other doctors that you're involved with, but you want somebody to make sure that they're that central kind of air traffic controller that has a good understanding of all the things that are happening around them. And there's one other thing that I'll add to this. Your financial planner, they're going to help manage what's in your account and in your portfolio, but they also can assist you in looking at your 401k account that you have with your company. You've got an opportunity now where you have a lot of money in these 401k accounts, and you've got a lot of investment options that are built in there. You have corporate stock that you can own from your company. You've got mutual funds that you can have in that. Being able to incorporate that person into that conversation is going to allow them to, again, understand all of what you've got going on and making sure that that part is managed and a part of what your big picture is, not just what you have under their umbrella with regards to their relationship.
And then just to add to that, having multiple financial planners isn't really beneficial from a cost perspective, because financial advisors aren't really working for free. So having 2 or 3 financial advisors is going to cost the client more money than just having one advisor who may offer, breakpoint sales and different types of discounts for just having one advisor.
That's a lot of trust for my money.
Yeah.
It's one person that's going to be responsible that I'm trusting to make sure that I'm going to be ready for retirement in 20 years. And I think that's one of the challenges that people have around turning over their money to one person or to one company, uncertain of how that's going to get used and how to track that.
So Monique, I think the important thing that you should realize, I work for Merrill Lynch. I don't sell Merrill Lynch mutual funds, right? So I work for a company, but we offer and so does Malcolm at Truist, we offer a variety of investments from different firms. So in your portfolio, you could have a long-term care policy that's a Lincoln policy. You could have mutual funds managed by a T. Rowe Price or a Vanguard or JP Morgan. So the umbrella that the financial planner is using is one thing, and that's the one individual, but you will have so many different assets from so many different companies, and that should make people feel a little bit more comfortable. And I act as a fiduciary. So my firm is watching me daily to make sure that Monique's portfolio, you said Monique is a moderate investor. Why did you just purchase some stocks that are trading at $5? I will automatically get a call, an email from our compliance department to say, listen, where's documentation that Monique was okay with this trade? Now, everyone's not a fiduciary, but in the capacity that we are at our firm, that's what we do. And that should make you feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that those things are in place so that the firm is making sure that we are doing what is in the best interest of the client.
That's really helpful. One of the things that we find, though, is when we do find that financial planner, a lot of times they don't look like us, right? Less than 3.5% of all the 80,000 certified financial planners in the United States are Black or Latino, according to a new study from the CFP Board Center for Financial Planning. That's just 2,700 Black or Latino planners in America. 1,200 who are Black, 1,500 who are Latino. And while the Security Exchange Commission has recently expanded the definition of an accredited investor, there is still no state in this country where African Americans comprise greater than 8% of accredited investors. Malcolm, why are there so few of us in the financial planning and investing field? And what can we do to expose college students joining us today and others, future generations, into this career path?
Sure. So I think there are so few of us in the financial investing field because historically the barriers of entry to get into the field have always been high for Black and brown people. I'm sure Drew and Stacy can kind of speak on some of the challenges they've faced during the interview process or the hiring process at the companies that they were working for at the time. So the barriers of entry have always been high for Black and brown people. In terms of educating or getting college students involved in the industry, I think we need to focus on having candid conversations about our experiences similar to what we're having today, and just focus on mentoring and educating the youth and the younger generations. Really focus on teaching them about financial literacy since it's not being taught in school, and teaching them about the stock market, teaching them about different investment strategies, and really focusing on teaching the kids at a younger age because, you know, our counterparts are teaching their kids at a younger age. So it's important that we teach our kids at a younger age. That way we can close that wealth gap and shrink the wealth gap between Black and brown and white communities. My nonprofit, Improving Gifted Intellects, is actually partnering with an elementary school, or actually multiple elementary schools this upcoming year, to offer an after-school program where we'll be going twice a week to mentor the kids and teach them about financial literacy, teaching them about STEM, and teaching them about various trades. So again, it just starts off with teaching our youth, teaching the younger generations, that way they can be competitive with our counterparts.
So I want to add to that. I know that when you introduced me, you told me I was co-chair of the Women's Exchange. So I left that job recently at Merrill from a volunteer standpoint, and now I serve on the Black African American Advisory Committee for the firm. And my job, my sole job, is to recruit Black people to be advisors at Merrill Lynch. I do that every single day. And I know one of the things that we have realized time and time again is young kids never saw people that looked like us. They were never exposed. So when you are exposed to a doctor as a youth, you want to go to medical school. You want to be a doctor. When you're exposed to a basketball player, you want to be a basketball player. But if you as a child have never seen someone that looks like us, it's not really anything you've thought about. And you know, this fear thing, you're like scared that you can't do this job. So I want you to know, if anyone here who is interested in pursuing a career in being a financial advisor, I am here to help you make that happen. I don't care where you live. You just let me know what city you're in. I am going to connect you with someone in that city because we want to make Merrill Lynch look like America. We want 13% of the firm to look like everybody in this room. We have started an academy at Morehouse and Spelman because we're going to start training students early to get their CFP before they, graduate. Let's get them licensed. Let's get them ready so that when they graduate, they can come to the firm already licensed. So we're working on all of these things right now, but we have to focus. And Malcolm's doing a great job with his nonprofit. Drew is out there speaking all around the world. But we have to make young Black people know there is a place at the table for them, and you are welcome at our firms. And we're going to do that every single day.
And Monique, I guess to one point there, I started back in 1987 as a non-paid intern. And it was interesting, during my 2 years of my internship, it was frustrating, but I also took it on as a challenge. Because during those 2 years, I worked in 2 different branches. I never saw a Black person come in to meet with their financial advisor. And I also, in those 2 years, did not see a Black financial advisor. And so, I took it on now as a personal challenge and opportunity to come in, and I wanted to do 2 things. Number 1, get more African Americans exposed to investing. And then number 2, if I had the opportunity, which I did when I went into management being a branch manager for a number of years, getting more individuals into the role of being a financial advisor. And I think it's getting better now. The numbers are horrible, but you've got people like Stacy and Malcolm now as people that you can look at and have an opportunity to come in and talk to. Because when I started, I wasn't supposed to be in that game. I was a 21-year-old black man in a business dominated by 55 and 60-year-old white men. And so, just coming in and having that mentality and mindset that I'm going to get this grind done, and at the end of the day, it's all about money and being able to get in front of people that I can work with that are going to present these opportunities and situations for me to be able to excel and be comfortable.
I think sometimes we don't always know what those jobs are, right? We kind of know the traditional jobs in this space. As we're growing and we're seeing things change, whether it be with technology or whether it be with what you did, Drew, when we think at creating a whole division around sports and entertainment, what are some of the jobs that this next generation should be thinking about that maybe they didn't realize are financial jobs that are in that space? Like, where are you seeing that growth professionally?
Sure. I could speak on that since I kind of recently graduated from college in 2019. So there are various different career paths that one could pursue if they're interested in finance. You can go the commercial banking side where you work at a branch office or you kind of work in retail banking, or you can kind of pursue the investment side where you work in equity research or research as an analyst or even as a financial planner. But if anyone is interested in kind of having a conversation about potential career opportunities, I'm more than welcome to have a conversation with you and kind of pick your brain, and you can pick my brain, and I can kind of direct you down the right path of what you're interested in.
That's great. In 2019, there was a survey of consumer finances that found that black families are less likely than white families to have retirement investment accounts. Among middle-aged families, 65% of white families have at least one retirement account, compared to 44% of black families. Stacy, how does this impact our ability to retire comfortably?
It's huge. It's huge because we can't retire. Black people are working until the day they die, literally, because they have not saved money. You hear every day, somebody had a heart attack at work and they were 75 years old. They should not have been working, but you know why they are? They didn't save. And I have an 18-year-old son who's a freshman at the University of South Carolina, and I used to think that I do all of this and he didn't get what mommy did. And I realized he got it the other day when he said, "Mommy, I am so upset with you. You didn't put money into a Roth IRA for me." And I said, "Billy, you didn't have any earned income because you quit your job because you were busy playing soccer and you quit your job at the pizza place. So I can't put money into a Roth IRA for you this year." He came home for Christmas break, freshman, 18 years old. He said, "I got a job at DoorDash. I'm going to be working at DoorDash." He made $1,666 at DoorDash during his Christmas break. You know what he told me? He said, "I want to put $1,666 in my Roth IRA." And then I realized he has been listening to his mom, even though I didn't believe it. He's been listening to mom. That, at 18, he started his first retirement account, right? Because he had earned income. We work and work and work, and we save money for this trip. We save money for these sneakers. We save money for these shoes. Invest in the companies and open a retirement account. If you work for someone that has a 401k, if you're in the corporate world, a 403b in the nonprofit world, a thrift savings at the government, you have to put a percentage of your salary away. And people say, "Well, how much do I put away, Stacy?" And I say, well, if you're in your 20s, put at least 8%, right? Because you're starting off. You talked about this. I made $22,000 a year when I first started as a financial advisor. I gave up.
That's not a good advertisement.
I gave up practicing law. My husband is here, and he will tell you the story that I got an offer to be an assistant U.S. attorney in the D.C. office. That's one of the premier offices if you want to be at AUSA, if anybody's a lawyer here. And I told my husband that I was going to not take the offer, and I was going to go work at a little small firm called Legg Mason. And he said, "And how much are they going to pay you?" And he said, "You're going to give up 6 figures for this?" I said, "I believed in myself." But I still invested in my retirement account because you know why? Legg Mason gave us a match. So you put money in, If you put 5% in, they agreed to put 4%. So I was already at 9%. But do you know how many people won't invest in their retirement accounts because they say the match is not big enough or there isn't a match? This is about you. This is not about anyone else. You have got to put money away for yourself, because you know what? If you don't, nobody will. Your kids, they're not going to take care of you. You can't take a loan for your retirement. I tell that to people every day. You cannot take a loan for your retirement. You can take a loan to buy a house, you can take a loan to buy a car, but you've got to pay yourself first. And if you don't, how many of you in this room have been to Walmart? How many of you? What's the first person you see when you get to Walmart? A greeter. Have you looked at the age of those greeters? Most of those greeters are over 70 years old. Do you think they want to be a greeter? Heck no. They're greeting you because they did not save for their retirement. They did not use the IRA, the SEP, the Roth, the 401k, the 403b, the thrift. Put the money away and make sure you are putting at least 10%. If you can't afford 10, and you put 5 and you get a match of 4, you've got to 9. But you've got to have that money waiting for you when it is time for you to retire.
All right, I'm going to break it down and keep it real 100, right? When we think of 10% as black folks, what do we think about? There you go. Right? Tied toward your retirement. Okay?
I can't go to Hawaii. You know, like, if I want to go to Hawaii, you want me to think about 20, 30, 40 years down the road, but I know I can put the money in my account now to go on my vacation. There's not immediate gratification. Like, how do you try to help people get beyond that this is going to help you down the road? Because do you find that a lot of people are thinking about the now as opposed to later?
Young people especially think about now, but you do both. You have, I think Malcolm did such a good job of explaining it. But you have an account, and you call that your Hawaii account. But then you also have your retirement account. And you put money in each, and you'll go to Hawaii, and then when you retire, you can live in Hawaii.
Very good. So we're going to wrap it up here, and I think one of the things that you all have been so great about is offering very detailed pieces of advice. A lot of times we speak in very, general ideals and proverbs, but what is like one tangible thing that you can leave our audience with each, where we think about what's the first thing I can do today to get myself moving forward to generational wealth and financial empowerment? I'll start with you, Malcolm.
Sure. So I think the first thing is just to educate yourself. There are so many resources out there where you can just educate yourself and do some homework on the different types of investment accounts to open. Investopedia being a great resource. So first, just educate yourself, and then just develop some sort of plan, I think, is the most important part. And lastly, I would just focus on investing for the long term. So when you invest your money into your investment account, just have a long-term horizon. Like, we all know that stock market's correct every so often. So just try to ignore the day-to-day volatility and just have a long-term horizon and think, 10 to 15 years from now, what your money's going to grow to be.
Great. And I'll just piggyback on that. It's the educational piece, but have a plan and start now. Don't wait. Don't wait. We always wait, and we think that we've got to wait till all the stars align so that this gets done. I'm going to have that right job, and I'm going to have all this money coming in. Start right now.
Time is now. $5 for some of you, $500 for someone else. But put something away and do it today. And if you don't know how to do it, call a professional.
Thank you all so much. On behalf of the CIAA and Visit Baltimore, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all of our panelists and our participants for contributing to this much-needed conversation. We've made such a significant strides towards closing the racial wealth gap, and I know it doesn't stop here. I encourage you all to share what you've learned today with your family and friends and establish accountability groups among yourselves. Educating our villages and holding one another accountable will always up and close the wealth gap. I'm Monique Jones. Thank you all for joining us. We're all here if you have any additional questions for our panelists. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Bank of America.